Hi, I'm Shivan Sarna, and I wrote this book, Healing SIBO. I've had a massive health journey over the past, well, since I was 5, and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I finally figured it out and literally had this internal communication with God and the universe. I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell everyone about this because I have privilege, I have a computer, I have good insurance, and if I couldn't figure it out, I can't imagine what everyone else is doing. So that's what started Chronic Condition Rescue because a whole bunch of stuff was wrong with me. And that's what started SIBO SOS, Small Intestine Bacterial Overgrowth, Save Ourselves. That's the name. And through all of that, one of my mentors is our special guest today, Steven Wright. So not only has he helped me with my own health, but he's also helped me get the word out. So Steven was one of my first coaches, however, mentors in this space. And I'm forever grateful to him and Jordan and Christine on his team, Mariel, and like really made the first summit possible because of their efforts and their support. So want to do like an OG shout out. And Stephen is an engineer by trade. He has probably helped more people with leaky gut than anyone else out there. He and his partner Jordan Reasoner had SCD Lifestyle. It was a website that helped people with a very specific diet to help people with their gut issues because they had such intense gut issues. Both were engineers, and they're like, this isn't cool. So, sometimes you have to help yourself. As you know, we are pro practitioner. As long as that practitioner is keeping up with the research and having beginner's mind as well as bringing their expertise. So today, speaking of beginner's mind, I went to Steven and I said, Steven, we're talking about tributyrin today. I'm so confused. Would you please just help me? Go back with me. I know I've heard the presentation a couple of times, but I still don't get it. And I know people are getting tremendous results when they sort of just like take the plunge. And so he said, yes, thank goodness. So this is a brand new presentation. No one's ever seen it before. This is the first time he's doing it. Steven, if you've already pulled up your slides and sharing the screen, that would be great. And I'm going to wrap up my part and let him get started. He did create a very special product called Tributyrin-X, along with some very special digestive enzymes and a variety of other small amount of curated, very carefully made products. We do have $15 off and free shipping in the US for anything on his website. So it's automatically applied at checkout if you use one of our links. It's $15 off the total checkout, by the way. And Anthony has just put that information in the chat. Per your request, you wanted to see those links early. There they are. We'll show you again. So don't worry about that. And you can also scroll in the chat. Sometimes phones don't let you scroll up, so we put that in there frequently. And I'm going to say, welcome, sir. I'm very excited. And we all have beginner's mind about tributyrin, butyrate, postbiotics. And thank you for being here. There you go.
Thanks, Shivan. Yeah, so can you see this appropriately? Can you see the screen appropriately?
Does it look like it's full screen to me? I do think
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
Yep.
great,
Okay.
great. This is the first of many. Number one, I literally just was deleting pictures and slides like seconds ago. I have not even done my own dry run of this, so we're gonna do this all together.
Oh,
And yeah, I know Siobhan sent out many emails to you all. You probably are attending for something she said in those emails. I hope we'll answer those questions, but I did not follow what she was writing, and I just did whatever I did for the last 24 hours. So, but the goal is everyone seems to be confused about butyrate, and everyone seems to be discounting it, in my opinion. And so that's what I want to talk about today, because I do think it is the missing molecule. So let's see, how do we do this? So we already talked about this. How do you make these things go? Okay, so I would wager, and here's my sort of bet to everybody, that this molecule, butyrate, is more important than probiotics, prebiotics, food. It's so magic that it makes it hard to understand for the body, and it's that magic is what makes it confusing, because everybody's been taught about food and probiotics and prebiotics, and when you think about butyrate and when you hear about it, everyone's description of it can be slightly different, and so that makes the magic hard to understand. And then also, if someone ever says, "Hey, this is the magic molecule, this is the one molecule," that should be a pretty big red flag for for you and for me that that's probably a lie. Like somebody's probably, definitely trying to sell you something. And for disclaimers, I'm definitely trying to sell you something. I'm trying to tell you that I've gone deep into the research, and I think that this molecule is in the class of vitamin D. It's in the class of magnesium. It is of the utmost importance to the human body all over the place, and people are really underappreciating it. And so that's my first goal here, is to get you as excited as I am and try to just like tell you why it's confusing. So here's why it's confusing, because this is a 2016 study talking about high fiber for brain health. The highlighted part down there, in the review, we will integrate evidence from disparate fields of gastroenterology, neuroscience, and hypothesize that metabolism of a high fiber diet in the gut can alter gene expression in the brain and prevent neurodegeneration and promote regeneration. So this is 2016. This is 2018. Now they're doing mice studies, and they're showing that the fiber does, in fact, improve neural inflammation. And then 2023, now they're taking butyrate supplements, in this case, sodium butyrate, and they're starting to reverse Parkinson's disease models in mice. So the brain and butyrate, very good, very important, and the progress of the research is happening very rapidly. What about asthma? What about the lungs? Everyone's very into lungs. Well, asthma is a huge histamine component, a huge mast cell component, as well as just, overall. And yes, butyrate is 100% linked to asthma. What about the bones? Role of microbiome in regulating bone metabolism and susceptibility to osteoporosis. How about obesity? Is there a butyrate obesity connection? Yes, there is. Overall, animal studies strongly indicate that butyrate administered via various routes, orally, for instance, positively affects adipose tissue metabolism and functioning, energy and substrate metabolism, systemic and tissue-specific inflammation, insulin sensitivity, and body weight control. So we have bones. We have, there's another bone one here. So butyrate slows bone loss, but also increases bone formation in mice. We have asthma, the lungs, we have the brain. So let's keep going. Here's some more metabolic syndrome related things. Metabolic syndrome is really not only weight gain, but also insulin sensitivity. And I want you to see that last bullet down there. Improve metabolic indices include insulin sensitivity and intestinal GLP-1 secretion. So everybody's all about the GLP-1s today, and for good purpose. They're very important for a lot of things.
Like Ozempic, Wegovy, all those drugs, in case you're not familiar, semaglutide, love you, bye.
Correct. You got it. Yep, those drugs are high doses of GLP-1 directly versus making it internally. Okay, well, that's cool, Steven. What about everything else? Well, here we have a trial in humans of measuring short-chain fatty acids, and increases in circulating and fecal butyrate are associated with reduced blood pressure and hypertension. So the conclusion down there is increased serum or fecal butyrate is associated with lowered blood pressure. So now we're talking the circulatory system. Okay, well, that's cool. How about heart attack? Oh, yep, we do have a gut model here, or a rat model here for myocardial ischemia, which is basically a heart attack. And they're using oral supplementation of butyrate to improve the recovery from a heart attack in mice, or that was rats. Okay, that's fine, but what about like normal day-to-day life? Well, here we have oral administration of tributyrin attenuates chronic ethanol-induced hepatic steatosis, inflammation, injury. Basically, there's several studies showing that tributyrin protects against the damage of ethanol or alcohol on a regular basis. This slide is the one I'll pause on for a second. Basically, we can go all over the place. So we'll talk about the gut here in a second, but we just covered adipose tissue. So basically, leptin goes up with more butyrate, GLP-1 goes up. We have immune stuff down here. T cells go up, macrophages, Treg balance. We have insulin signaling. We have liver being protected. We have atherosclerosis. We have nitric oxide going up. We have cardio function going up, uric acid going down, inflammation going down. We have the brain, the nervous system. So butyrate starts in the gut, and then it goes systemic. And this is where the quote unquote magic begins to happen, because you and I have very different systems. We have very different genetics and epigenetics. We have we're different ages. We have different levels of disease and damage happening on a daily basis. And before we even get to how does our gut function, we need to just see that if your gut is low in butyrate, that's one thing, and that's something that we're going to address here in a second. But that just means also that whatever other familial history you have, whatever genetic weak link you have, if you're trying to offset your risk of that, butyrate is going to be important in offsetting that risk, whatever it might be. You might have a family like mine that has some stroke and heart attacks in it. On one side, we have cancer on the other side. You know, I don't know. You might have Alzheimer's in your family, whatever it might be. There's an attached study and line of research there for butyrate. The other problem with butyrate is that it's not easy to go, well, just take this supplement. It will, it's the bloating supplement, or it's the methane supplement, or it's the Akkermansia supplement. It's the whatever supplement, because it's not that. It is affecting globally the entire gut as well as the entire body. This is a microencapsulated sodium butyrate. We'll talk more about this in a minute, but this is one of the biggest trials ever. 3,000 patients. They took 300 milligrams a day for 12 weeks, and they were looking at all different types of IBS and all different types of issues. And so the orange bars are on day 0, visit 1, and then visit 2 is in 12 weeks later. And you can see there's not a complete resolution of every issue, and you would never see that. These aren't drugs. This is a normal substance made every day. But you can see improvements for people with constipation. You see even better improvements with people with diarrhea. You see even better improvements with people with gas and farting. Abdominal pain is a really good marker as well. You know, less so. Well, overall, it's still about 50%, but it's still less of a drop for people with like nausea and vomiting. It's not like a super power for that, but it still helps some of them.
Hey, Steven, we're just getting a little bit of a let's go back. What exactly is butyrate? So Barb's saying it's a compound found in butter, but I don't think, is that right? I believe it produces short chain fatty acids, which are vital for your colon health and apparently lots of other health issues, as he's advising on. Okay, it's an organic grass-fed butter. Interesting. So just tell us.
It's in that's you get a micro amount of it in butter. You're never going to get that into your system. So it's just
So is it in the blood? Is it in the bones? Is it a molecule that's in the inside of the colon that's just been overlooked by everybody? Like, just help me with that a little bit. And if you already said it, you have.
No, we'll just skip ahead here.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, totally. No, I appreciate that. Keep interrupting me. It makes, I don't want this just to be like a talk fest either. This should be a conversation.
Yeah, we're keeping it real. Just do me a favor, everyone, and put your comments or your questions in the Q&A box. And thank you, Barb, by the way, who's a longtime regular, but just try, if you have questions like that, just put it in the Q&A box so we can all focus. Thank you.
I don't care what any keyboard warrior says out there. You cannot get enough butyrate from butter, nor do you actually get the butyrate you need for everything we just talked about from butter. This is how you get your butyrate. It's very well known. It's factually known. Dietary fibers of, and we'll break this down. It's not just fibers, it's polyphenols and other things. You eat these, a healthy, we'll talk about that as well, gut microbiome does a whole bunch of cross-feeding and handing off. So one group does this, and then they hand it over to this other group, and then this other group does something, and then it makes these things called short-chain fatty acids, of which the predominant ones are acetate, propanonate, and butyrate. So we'll talk about this here in a bit, but also a way to think about this is you have prebiotics over here on the dietary fiber side. So basically prebiotics are specialized food for healthy gut bugs or probiotics here. And then postbiotics are everything that the microbiota make. So everything that comes out, which is way more than short chain fatty acids. There's all kinds of stuff. We don't even know all the stuff yet because we don't know how to measure it. And it's, deep inside of us, it's hard to measure. So as you can see, follow the little red guys and the green guys, because they all basically, they do things. This is the villi here, the cells of the colon and the large intestine. So they interact here. They do a lot of stuff right in the mitochondria. You can see this is butyrate going into the mitochondria of the gut cells. It's doing these different things like HDAC inhibition and things like that. And then it's going through the back of the cell, and it's going systemic circulation and going to these other things that we just talked about, gut brain. We didn't talk about gut kidney, but there's a huge type 2 diabetes and gut kidney axis, as well as gut lung. So butyrate is, as far as Steven is concerned, as far as research is concerned, the most well-studied short-chain fatty acid, as well as the most universally anti-inflammatory and sort of like systemically important one. It's not that propanonate's bad or acetate's bad, but they just, the research on them is a lot less, and sometimes more of acetate and more of propanonate is not necessarily a good thing. So that's butyrate. That's a brief overview. You want to go back or you want to go forward?
No, let's go back so you're in flow. Can people herx from butyrate? Herx, Shivan, don't use abbreviations. Can they get a die-off effect? And you guys, please stay out of the chat and go into the Q&A so I can manage that more effectively. I don't want to have to delete anyone's comments, just so we can focus. Then I do want to hear what you have to say. But can people get like that extra gas from it?
Yeah, just like when people change their diets, they have changes in their gas and their bloating, their abdominal pain. Just like when people try a new prebiotic or probiotic, sometimes there's a few days. I call it gut remodeling. I don't call it a Herxheimer reaction.
Like it. I like it.
So yeah, I would say 100% yes. Some subset of our customers have a gut remodeling phase that lasts 3 to 7-ish days, that things will feel like, oh, maybe there's a little more noise down there. Oh, there's different things happening. But if you want change, you have to have change.
So one thing everyone needs to know about Steven is that he is not afraid of tough love. He's like, like what he just said, sometimes he's a little more blunt. And that is that it's how many people have been able to relate to nothing ever changing. And then when something changes and it's not for the better, in just a short time, I'm not talking about suffering, but just like a short time, like I used to be like, ugh, it's just getting worse. Like I tried something and it didn't work. And everybody is different, but that used to be my default. And Steven is a little bit more, correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit more like, hey, there's some change. This is actually good. Like remodeling looks pretty messy before it looks good. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I as a practitioner, and I think, I don't know, I guess I'll go on a limb. I think most good practitioners want you to feel something good or bad. Pain, or even pain's a signal. It tells you something about the intervention, about whether you need it or you don't need it or you're not ready. But I actually think no change or no feeling is the worst outcome you could have. Crickets is confusing. You don't know, is it too much? Is it the wrong thing? Is it the right thing at too low? It's much more confusing than
spoken like a true engineer. Data is helpful. Okay, go back a little bit so we can get caught up.
Okay, so my point is butyrate is confusing in the gut because it's so central to how the gut works. And so we'll talk about people who are constipated more in a minute, but because butyrate is essential to a healthy microbiome, it's literally essential to a healthy large intestine and everything that's going on. More essential than anything else down there is the amount of butyrate that's there. It's going to affect everything in the gut, just like affects everything at a systemic scale. And so I just want to show a few studies here. This was, the studies are more, the studies favor diarrhea dominant individuals and mixed type individuals more than they do constipation individuals, which we're going to talk about that. But in general, the studies for diarrhea dominant IBS and other things are like really amazing. Also, traveler's diarrhea, things like that. They are the interventions with supplemental butyrate are just really amazing data. So the constipation data is less quote unquote favorable at this moment. But this study just came out. I think this is a 2024 study. It looks like I accidentally cut off the date there, trying to get some more of the studies here. But essentially what it's saying is that this is a China study where they looked at 460 Chinese women and constipation. And they're essentially saying that the low intestinal butyrate ends up causing enteric nervous system damage, and then that leads to functional constipation. Now, of course, this is still very real, very new, and people are still trying to figure this out. But this study is one of the first studies that backs up our working theory at Healthy Gut. Our working theory at Healthy Gut is that the people with constipation, the more constipated, like dominant you are, like we all kind of have a signature, right? Like we all have like when under stress, you go towards what? So if you're under stress, you go towards, some people go towards diarrhea all the time. Some people flip-flop depending on the month, depending on the cycle, depending on the season, between diarrhea and constipation. So they're an IBS-M or IBS mixed. And then most people, I would say most people in general, I would say the bigger group of people is people who tend towards constipation under stress. And so we have had harder time introducing Tributyrin X into the constipated people. And our working theory since about a year ago has been that it's because these people have the lowest amounts of butyrate. And so the relative change for them is significantly more. And it causes there's like a lot more damage that has to be fixed for the constipated folks. And there's a lot more interjection of butyrate that needs to happen. So there's a lot more remodeling. Maybe the diarrhea folks, it's like, putting lipstick on the pig style, like paint and new floor. But the constipation people might need new windows and doors and a roof and all kinds of things. And so this creates a longer introduction cycle. But in the end, the constipated people end up really satisfied if they could stick with it. So we covered this again. We'll come back to it. So let's review this. So these are my definitions. I don't really, care about all the scientific definitions. I think they make it really hard to understand things. I think you could generally say that prebiotics are they're like a class of fiber, and there are specific food for the good gut bugs. Like they're generally defined as a specific compound or class of compounds that feed a specific type of good bugs. Probiotics are specific strains, not all strains, not big groups of strains, but specific strains of good bugs that induce health or health changes. And then postbiotics are literally the poop or the metabolites of those probiotics. So I'm gonna get super engineering here because I think it's really important to understand the relationship between these. If you reduce the incoming prebiotics in the system, you have less probiotics in the system, and there's less postbiotics that are created. That's just the generalized way that the world works in the gut. So let's just ask the question, like, what makes butyrate go up and down? So I don't know if this is going to show up blurry to everybody or not, but it's the best photo I could find out there.
Looks okay. It looks okay.
Okay. So on the left side here, we have the positive ways that butyrate goes up. This says Mediterranean, vegan, and vegetarian diet. In other words, plant foods and polyphenols go up, butyrate goes up. Now, I'm saying that there's no reason you need to name the diet at all. I am absolutely not a proponent of a vegan diet, and most vegetarian diets as well. However, vegetarian diets I think can be done, very healthy long-term. The vegan ones I'm very scared about for folks. The point is these diets, these people.
He knows I'm a vegetarian, but.
Yeah, and I love her. But the beauty about these diets is that these people end up consuming a lot more polyphenols than most other groups. And so a lot of the research data on these diets is very beneficial, frankly. The next thing, fibers and resistant starches. So you can see here, you can't really see this, but this is a corn stalk, that's a banana, and those are potatoes. So So fibers and resistant starches, they make butyrate go up big time. And then, of course, you can take prebiotics and probiotics that make butyrate go up. And I don't know why I have this other line there, but that's funny. Anyways, and then fermented foods do help with butyrate as well. On the other side here, you have alcohol and smoking, any antibiotics, hygiene, so antiseptics, as well as mouthwash, and then a Western diet. So on any sort of Western diet, processed small carbohydrates go up, sugars go up, fat goes up, and fibers go down. And all of that creates less butyrate over time, whereas all this over here increases your butyrate over time. Good, Shivan?
Good, Steven. Good.
Okay. Wow, I don't know what's happened there. Okay, so here's my butyrate equation, TM or something. Butyrate equals the dietary potential times the microbiome ability. So microbiome ability equals cross feeders. These are strains of bacteria that sort of do one thing in order to turn one type of dietary potential into another type. Starch degraders, and then the butyrate species themselves. These guys, the butyrate species, are dependent on the cross feeders and the starch degraders times the oxygen saturation. If they are not in a low oxygen environment, all of these species die. They just start dying off, just like if you put you and I on the moon. We need oxygen. These guys need low oxygen. And so they are proponently able to live or not able to live based on their environment. And then dietary potential is polyphenols, fermentable fibers, and resistant starches. So you can see here there's a multiplication up here. So if you have a great microbiome, it's going to multiply whatever diet you choose. Like even if it's a low amount of dietary potential, you'll make a decent amount of butyrate for a while, until this feedback loop happens, which is as you make less butyrate, your oxygen saturation goes up because you have less butyrate, and then it slowly starts to kill off these species, which causes dysbiosis, and then you have a less efficient microbiome, and then your poor dietary choices end up being more consequential, and then you get kind of stuck in this multiplication loop towards zero, and that's not good, and that's where a lot of people are. So why is everyone so butyrate deficient? Just to summarize everything that's been said so far, we are Americans, that is, including myself, we consume dismal amounts of fibers. We really do. I think the most recent data is somewhere between 5 to 7 grams a day. We used to be, I don't know if we should be, but we used to be like 30 grams or more. Some people put us at 50 grams. That's like almost, somewhere between 60 and 90% reduction over the last 50 to 100 years. We take antibiotics. That antibiotic studies show that you kill butyrate production and you raise oxygen levels immediately by taking antibiotics. This is how the gut dysbiosis happens. By killing off all different types of bugs, they make less butyrate and the oxygen gradient changes, and then you have dysbiosis. There are several studies in animals, mostly in mice and rats, showing that the best way to overcome antibiotic-associated gut dysbiosis is by taking tributyrin. The other thing that no one's talking about, because it's really inconvenient to talk about, especially on a channel like this, is that we go on these well-meaning elimination diets. So no one really wants to talk about it, but like a great source of dietary fibers is grains. They're a big source. We also end up with SIBO. We end up with bloating pains. I was one of them. And we literally cannot process those foods anymore. So we have to cut out FODMAPs. We have to cut out, some other, complex carbohydrate or starches. And when we do that, we immediately cut down this part over here. We immediately, our own elimination diets that give us less pain immediately start reducing our dietary potential for butyrate. And so that we do those, and we end up sticking on those for probably too long. We don't use protections for our gut. We don't do protected elimination diets, and that ends up harming us in a big way. And then literally anything that harms the microbiome. But I would say, based on the research I've read, you can literally there's exercise data that shows like if you just do some vigorous exercise, your microbiome gets better. There's research on just stress and then just being outside. All those things can make your microbiome stronger. And frankly, the majority of us don't do enough of them. So now we're going to kind of switch into butyrate products. Do we want to have any questions or anything, Shivan, before we exit this part?
Yeah. First of all, applause for Steven. Lots of love for Steven because that was from the heart and soul. So great presentation. I do feel more clarity. I also feel like smart and stupid at the same time because now I feel smarter, but also wait a minute. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I can't wait to rewatch this with everybody, and everyone is getting the replay later on tonight. Remember that Steven has a Facebook group with health coaches in there for any of the people that purchase his products. So you can go in there and get trained advice about you. It's not medical advice, but it's training about the products. So he'll show you that in a little bit. Anthony's put the link in the chat if you'd like to buy this at $15 off or off your cart with free shipping in the US. Okay. I do have a lot of questions. I'm going to take 5 minutes right now and ask those. I got to tell you all one other thing that I've never done before and I'm super excited about. We're going to wrap up at 4, I would say, Eastern time. If by 5 p.m. Eastern time, anyone decides to purchase something from the Healthy Gut with our link, you can send your proof of purchase, if it's by 5 tonight Eastern time, to info@SIBO SOS and Anthony, SIBOSOS.com. Anthony will put the link there. Steven did a beautiful enzyme masterclass for my last gut summit. And I thought it would be a nice extra special treat to share that with anyone who buys before 5 p.m. Eastern time. You have to send the proof of purchase. You can't just say, hey, Shivan, I bought, because, but anyway, that's the first time we've ever done it. It was normally just part of that summit and you had to buy it. I know a lot of people here did, and there were like 40 other great talks, but Steven is truly an expert in digestive enzymes. He's made Holozyme, which is one of my favorite, and so many of you all have been enjoying it and using it. So you get a free masterclass. Cool. By 5 Eastern time, email us with your proof of purchase, info@SIBOSOS.com. Got it. Okay. I know, Barb, right? Here comes some questions. 5 minutes of questions, and then we'll continue on with more info. Does it help raise IgA? My son has low IgA since COVID and is sick 2 weeks every month from catching viruses since November. There's nothing we can do apparently to raise the IgA, but I know it starts in the gut too. Immune system is in the gut. Cheers.
It does in a roundabout way. There's connections in the research for it. You can see that, but it's not like a direct. There's not human studies that directly have measured that yet. If that was your end goal, the studies that are like a no-brainer, especially because they've done them in kids as well, are beta glucans. Beta glucans directly raise secretory IgA in humans, and there's data on kids.
Do you have a product with that in it?
We do. Holoimmune.
Could you spell that, please?
Holo, H-O-L-O, immune.
Holoimmune. I misheard. Okay. Holoimmune. Yeah. There you go, Barb. Does it help with mold, illness, and EMF sensitivity?
Yeah, again, in a roundabout way. Like it doesn't grab mold and take it out. It's not like a shield against EMFs, but anything that makes you stronger is what you're trying to do. You're trying to create resilience against those things. So we have many mold practitioners who use their Tributyrin-X in their programs because those conditions typically have a histamine component and a gut problem component. And so again, if there's a gut component, which I would argue there's a gut component to everything, butyrate is the gut molecule. It's the molecule that is the most protective and the most interactive with everything in the gut.
We can make short chain fatty acids out of amino acids. One of the major ketone bodies is beta hydroxybutyrate, which easily converts to butyrate. So animal protein greater than fiber? Question mark.
Yeah, not true.
Okay.
Not true at all.
Okay.
You would have to look it up again, but I think the amount of butyrate you make is it's a large amount. Like it's an absolutely large amount. Not to mention protein fermentation takes place dang near the end of your large intestine, if I remember correctly. I'm not a protein fermentation guru, but if we could do that, if like the carnivore diet was like the way to go, or if using these special types of ketone bodies was like the end all be all, you would just see much more. You'd see, number one, you'd see populations of humans that had subsisted on a carnivore only diet for a long time, and or you'd see a lot more research on beta hydroxybutyrate for butyrate conversion, which we don't see. You see a ton of research on prebiotics, a ton of research on fiber, a ton of research on probiotics, and this has been going on for 35 years, something like that. So I'm not ahead of the game. Like those guys are the head of the game. I'm just the messenger here.
Any effects of thinning the blood?
There may be some roundabout way because we talked about NO2 production and vascular constriction and things. We did talk the blood pressure study. So, how does blood pressure go up or down? Like it has to be related somehow to the blood. I don't know if it's hemodynamics though, or the vessels themselves. So, there could be.
I'm going to have you go back to your presentation. No, we're doing both. Heather says, I've used both Holozyme and Tributyrin-X for over 2 years. Love them. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. Continue, Stephen, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I've showed you studies on all different types of butyrate so far. Why would I spend my precious hours making a butyrate product? And it's because for years I've tried many of these products, even though I fit the criteria for somebody with low butyrate, but I just didn't get any results. I didn't get the results that the studies show. And then when I talked with my clinician friends, they echoed these same types of stories that they get nerdy excited. Like if you go to the shows I go to with the clinicians, they get turned on by butyrate. It's exciting. But when they go to practice, when they go to actually deliver it to people, they're just kind of like, doesn't really have the oomph that they were hoping for, which is always sad for a clinician. And so I want to dive into this research because it just seemed like a problem we're trying to understand. And what I found was that the research in general has in humans specifically, has two really big issues. The problem one is that there's a wide range of delivery methods, which I'll cover in a second. And problem two is that they're all using all different types of butyrate. So it means that like, instead of just focusing down one track with one product that was repeatable in humans or anything else, to get more and more data about maybe finding out about blood thinning or secretory IgA, that's not happening because you got all these different people choosing different types as well as different delivery methods. And so the data ends up looking very skewed. So that's what I wanted to understand. Okay. So here's my totally made up method, and you can tell me that this does not resonate or totally sucks, and I will take that. I'll take it to heart, and I'll cut it. So here's my idea, trying to explain part of how I formulate. Let's say you're making a fresh summer salad with basil, and I want you to imagine how's it going to taste with, you choose dried basil because that's all you have. You choose dried organic basil. You choose fresh store-bought non-organic basil. Or you choose the fresh store-bought organic basil, or you literally have fresh local basil because it's in your garden. It's literally like down the street at the farmer stand. And my belief is that with the basil method of making food, like if you literally have the freshest, localist, highest quality stuff, it's really hard to be a bad chef. Like you can kind of suck. Like I kind of suck at cooking methods and chopping everything the right size and all these things that the Michelin star chefs are like really good at. I'm not very good at, but I get a lot of complaints. I get a lot of compliments by just starting with the best ingredients. So if we look at this as applied to butyrate, we find that sodium butyrate is at the top of the list. It's the easiest. It's the easiest to find. It's the cheapest. It's the most amount of available research. Then you have your CalMag butyrates. Then you have your microencapsulated or your gastroprotected sodium butyrates. Then you have tributyrin and then enteric protected tributyrin. And so it's not that you can't make a salad, with dried basil, or you can't make a salad with like even organic basil. You can, but if you want the best of the best, if you want the best outcome, the best chance for a good outcome, you go with the best of the best. And so that's how I look at formulating, at least one application for formulations. So, how did I arrive at that conclusion? Why am I okay making those statements? It's because there's a phase 1 clinical study for safety data. This is why I don't love presentations like this, because I run out of my ability to talk at some point. But there's a safety data study, a clinical one, which is clinical ones are they're looking for an outcome, but they're also looking for safety data. So they pushed some cancer patients up to 42,000 milligrams a day orally of Tributyrin. There's never been more than 4,500 milligrams of sodium butyrate given to a human in a study. And so the safety data is almost 10x, quote unquote, safer for Tributyrin than it is in sodium butyrate. That doesn't mean sodium butyrate's bad. I'm just saying that if I'm trying to choose, good, better, best, the safety data on Tributyrin is spectacular. It's more anti-inflammatory in human cell studies than sodium butyrate. Like literally, they have the same human cell studies. They give one group of cells Tributyrin, they give the other one sodium butyrate. The Tributyrin wins. It's more bioavailable in several animal studies where it beats sodium butyrate that was giving IV. So they give oral Tributyrin and they give IV sodium butyrate, and it wins for bioavailability. And then it beats sodium butyrate. So Tributyrin beats sodium butyrate heads up in colon cell culture outcomes and animal growth study outcomes. And so that's why, seeing those studies, that's why I was like, well, it's very clear. Tributyrin is the better molecule. We have data from all different directions suggesting so. That being said, the majority of that data was not in humans, and humans are a totally different ballgame. And there's a lot of research that just falls apart when we try to transition from animals to humans. Like it might look like it's going to cure cancer or cure Alzheimer's or something in animals, and then when we transfer it over to humans, things just go sideways. There's unexpected feedback loops. There's different doses, different delivery methods. Our stomachs and our digestion is totally different than any other animal. And so the transference, we can't just assume that it's going to work, like Tributyrin is going to be better. But I do believe that that when we protect it from stomach acid, which is the enteric capsule technology, that it does transfer, and that the clinical results show that, and that in the future, we hope to have the actual clinical studies to prove it. So this is our product. This is Tributyrin-X. So we are the only company to have a 99.9% pure Tributyrin. There's other companies with Tributyrin on the market, but it's not 99.9% purity. They have other carrier oils and things like that. As far as I know, we're still the only people in the world to be using a patent-pending enteric-coated gel cap versus some sort of gastro-resistant style thing. We're non-GMO, no flows, no fillers, CGMP. And then I know I tried to make a joke there. We're one of the only companies that don't have the butt smell. So there's the butyrate smell. Like if you open a sodium butyrate product, it smells like bile vomit is how I consider it to smell. It's pretty bad. The capsule technology is so cool. It's locking in so much air that it's not able to escape. And that's how we get around that. And I think you can feel the difference. That's what we've seen when we took it to market, is that clinically you can feel the difference between our brand and others, even our brand and other Tributyrins. It's really great for most conditions, and we can talk more about that. I know, Shivan, you have some questions. The biggest issue is you need individualized dosing. The range of the most efficacious dosing is 3 to 6 per day. And for some people, especially the constipated people, they need to start 1 every 3 days if they're super constipated and work up to that. And then a lot of people, they just end up never going above 2 or never going above 3. So like literally earlier this year, I ran a whole campaign trying to push people out of 1 a day or 2 a day to 3 or more a day. And the amount of results we got from people who were taking the product already, who actually went to 3 per day, because prior to that they were scared or they were confused about why, and they actually did it there. The explosion in their reviews and their raving reviews was amazing. It was exactly what I thought it would. It was actually more than I thought it would be. And then for the clinical stuff, the between 3 and 6 and getting up to 6 is where you can really see like a full remodeling in the microbiome. And of course, we have to go back to our butyrate equation. You can't just do this forever. You have to also increase the food that's coming in. You have to change your diet. You have to increase the polyphenols, increase the resistant starches, increase the fermentable matter once you've kind of done this work with butyrate, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like if you were stuck taking Tributyrin-X forever, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I do think you can not have to do that if you repair everything from the ground up, and you probably need to use a probiotic during, once you get to 3 per 6 per day, you might introduce a probiotic and then a prebiotic, or you might just be able to just change your diet and totally fix it. So this is just because people are always asking, like, what exactly does it do in the gut? And I didn't have time. I've done other presentations on this, but it takes me usually an hour just to get through all the nitty gritty of the gut research. So this is just kind of a really like a small overview. I think the thing that people don't understand about Tributyrin-X is how much it supports histamine and histamine intolerance. It's very, very helpful for those folks. So who's it for? Essentially everyone who's battling a chronic condition, everyone who's battling a gut issue, and they're trying to get out of it. Because again, locally in the gut, everywhere we look, whether if you want leaky guts to repair, you want tight junctions to repair, you want the mucus layer to get thicker, you want your microbiome to be more diverse, you want your gut cells to be better at apoptosis so they don't become cancer. Like wherever we look in the gut, it's helping. And then systemically, wherever we look, we see benefit. And so I would say it's for essentially everyone, but our product is not for everyone. Unfortunately, we have not been able to make it kosher or vegan. And it's not for someone who can't swallow a small capsule intact. You don't want to open the capsule. And it's a very small capsule. I have a bottle here. It's a really tiny gel cap. It's not like a huge omega-3 pill or something.
Thank you for that, by the way. I like,
Yeah.
it helps. It helps. Anyway, so thank you.
And then again, the individual, like if you don't want to play with your dosing, it's hard because I can't say just take one of these and like the magic happens. You might be someone who needs 2. You might be someone who needs 6. I don't know, which is why we have our health coaches. All of our customers get at least one free one-on-one session to help them personalize the product.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's say I buy Tributyrin-X today. I can get a free session to discuss it with one of the health coaches. And then in 3 weeks, I get Holozyme. Can I come back and get another conversation about Holozyme?
I mean, at this point in time, probably you should do it soon because there'll be changes by the end of summer.
There you go. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm so glad you're showing this, like literally, I was like, please tell everyone who it's not for. Tell them about the Facebook group. Tell them it's not vegan. I also asked him to give us testimonials because the amount of testimonials for the people who were, as I said in the beginning, like going for it, and they surprised me, and I think they surprised you a little bit. I mean, the results are profound.
Yeah. Again, it good, better, best, right? Like sometimes better is like good enough for some individuals, and sometimes it's good enough for certain supplements. So you're never really sure the delta or the difference between better and best until you actually try it. And so I wasn't sure, is Tributyrin-X going to be that much better? Like, would people actually pay a premium because it cost me a premium to make it? Would they actually pay for it? And would it back up with like results in the field? And I was shocked at how well it did.
Well, I'm very excited about this. Is this your last slide, Steven?
Yeah, we have some more testimonials, but that's it.
Okay. Go ahead and whip through some of those. And then can I go ahead and ask you some questions? I also wanted to say thanks to Amalia and Angela and Jen and Katie. You guys are like on it. You're like, I want that enzyme masterclass. Here is the receipt. I just went shopping at healthygut.com and got me some Tributyrin-X and some enzymes. So very good. Anyone who buys by 5 p.m. Eastern time will get Steven's masterclass on digestive enzymes, which absolutely clears up all confusion around them. Okay. So here are some of the testimonials. Just check it out and see if you can relate to any of these. And then I'm going to go ask you questions then. Okay. You ready?
Do it.
And send proof of purchase by 5 p.m. to info@sibosos.com, and we'll send you the link for the masterclass, which is usually like part of a, over $100 package. So, Anthony, if you could put that link in there just with our email address. Okay. What's the long-term thinking for taking butyrate for gut recovery? Should you take it until symptoms improve and then stop? Does the research show that benefits go away when you stop taking it, or should I just keep going? Thank you. Good question. They're all good.
Yeah. So, the best way to use it, in my opinion, is you get up to that idealized dose where you notice a significant change in your symptomology, whether you're a bloater or diarrhea or constipation or pain, or you have some other, inflammation or other issues around the body. You start to notice significant change in those symptoms. Again, it's not a prescription. It doesn't heal these things in and of themselves. But when you see significant change, don't stop. Stay there at that dosage for 3 to 6 months, and you will allow your body to catch up to this new reality, like this new elevated, supported reality. And in that time frame, what I would ask you to do is go back to our equation of dietary potential and microbiome ability, and you got to focus on this equation. So
I love that equation.
Thank you. So you have to focus on this equation. So if this is where, once you're feeling a lot better, that's where you start to, in my opinion, bring in your megaspore. You bring in your megapre. You start to bring in the things that feed these different species and help everything. And then you have to work on your diet. You have to increase your FODMAPs. I know it's controversial. I'm not saying go back to gluten and sugars and margarine or anything, but things that have polyphenols, fermentable fibers, and resistant starches, yes, you need to work on increasing that or finding a supplement you're willing to take for life.
Okay. Yes, he ships to Canada. You will be paying the shipping and handling. Okay. Can it be taken with food, or does it have to be away from food, and how long before eating?
You can take it anytime. You can take it with food, without food. That's the enteric coating. It protects it. In fact, I didn't include in this presentation because there's not time, but there's several studies that show it increases non-REM deep sleep. And so a lot of people take it right before bed.
Okay. Sunny, the place to purchase, just keep rolling up in your chat and you'll find it there. Also, we sent an email with links. On the website, HoloImmune is sold out. Is that true?
It's unfortunate.
Oh my gosh. Barb, I don't know if you have a wait list or not. Worth checking back. When's it coming back? Do you know, Steven?
I can't say exactly, but hopefully not more than 7 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see. Do polyphenol supplements increase butyrate production by gut microbes?
The best built ones do. Yes, the ones that are actually built on the actual scientific studies.
Okay.
But you have to have the core species there. If the core species are gone because they don't have enough butyrate, the oxygen gradient's wrong, just taking prebiotics doesn't necessarily work. And that's been the whole prebiotic conundrum, right? It's not that we just realized that butyrate was important. We didn't just realize that prebiotics are powerful and awesome. It's just that for whatever reason, prebiotics by themselves, without this sort of butyrate reintroduction part, they kind of fall flat.
Can you show the slide who says who it is best for, please? And Kathy's like, okay, so you take the products in a systematic way if you have issues with digestion, gas, and bloating. Yes. Start with enzyme, then do butyrate, then do a probiotic, or do you combine them? And also, are they different lanes? Like, digestive enzymes do things that are totally different than butyrate.
Correct. Yeah. So one of the reasons why prebiotics and fibers don't get the right type of fermentation down in the large intestine is because you don't have the right amount of enzymes. So enzymes are are part of the small intestine package, and the ability to break down any food, whether it's a complex carbohydrate, into a starch granule that can be fermented by your bugs. And so they're together. They're different organs. They're supporting different processes of the food. And so I would suggest, yes, you focus on enzymes, butyrate, HCl first, and then you start to come in with probiotics and then prebiotics. You kind of build backwards instead of building the other way.
And yes, it's gluten-free. And how long is it good for after the expiration date? I don't know if you're comfortable saying that, because
yeah, we haven't tested that, but it should be good for a while.
has it been seen to help with anxiety and fatigue?
I'm sure there are studies linking butyrate and anxiety. Again, it would be in a roundabout way. It's not like this is an anti-anxiety product or a super energetic product.
Any other I can't remember what they're called. Like, you can't take other meds with it. There's a word. Yeah.
Yeah, contraindications.
Contraindication. Yep. Thank you. Okay.
No, other than if you take it and it hurts, just stop and we'll give you our money back.
Okay. Yes, you can take it with along with other supplements.
Yeah, it doesn't
Its own thing.
Yeah, it's its own thing. It's its own class. It doesn't impact, I was just hanging out with Karan last week. It just helps with all the products that he's made. It's a yes and.
Got it. If you're unsure of how much to take with or without meals, what do you recommend for maintenance dose? I would get it and try it. And then also, once you do get it, go into his Facebook group, because it is like, I have a very robust 30,000 person Facebook group about SIBO, and there's a lot of brilliance happening there. But Stevens has coaches that are dedicated to discussing the dosage of the supplement with you. So that's like a super highly focused niche scenario. So take advantage of that, for goodness sakes. That's like no charge. You just have to get the supplement and there you go. Is there a way to, and would you want to test your butyrate levels? Hi, Simon.
I'm not aware of any like serum. So like that's the systemic amount of butyrate. Like I don't know of any company that you can get that test done. I think that's just a research only lab. And then you can get fecal butyrate, so like a stool test, you can get those samples, but that's not necessarily 100% indicative of how much is being used locally and how much is being used systemically. And so it's a good marker. It's something to keep your eye on, but it's not like it's not as helpful as something like vitamin D3. Like knowing your blood serum vitamin D3 tells you a ton, and you can supplement directly off of that. Your symptoms and your overall health are a much better predictor of your butyrate status, in my opinion.
And then he just said it, like, if you're really uncomfortable or if you're in pain, then tell him, then stop taking it. Because people are going like, what's the back off dose? Listen to your intuition, listen to your body. Carla is saying, I'm in his Facebook group and have also emailed his team on various questions. They are great. Thank you, Carla, for that. I think there's a breath test for butyrate. Keto people use it. I don't know. That's interesting, Karen. Let's see. Thanks, Carla, for that. Precision point diagnosis test for fecal short chain fatty acids. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about.
Okay. Sorry. I'm reading and listening at the same time. He's saying that the immune product is back in hopefully 7 weeks. I'm sorry. That's sucky. Okay. Let's see here. I've been on butyrate for 4 days, 2 a day. Have you been on the Tributyrin-X, or are you just saying butyrate in general? Have had diarrhea for the past 2 days. Could it be from Tributyrin-X? Should I increase it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's our butyrate or someone else's, but I would slow down. I'd go to 1 a day just to see if it changes, or 0 a day, unless you're like a diarrhea dominant person. If you're like, this is normal, then,
Yeah.
If you're like, this is pretty close to normal, then I would start going up. If you're saying this is a big change for me in the negative direction, then I would start going down.
Jennifer, Katie, you're welcome. You're welcome. Can you take it with one of your meals if it's just whey protein shake without any fruit or veggies? So it's just like a, protein.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You don't have to like balance it around The enteric coating does not open until the pH is a 7 or above. So with or without food, it should be able to withstand whatever happens.
And once you buy, you'll get an email saying, hey, thanks for ordering, etc. And they'll give you the Facebook group link then. And by the way, tons of people don't go to the Facebook group, okay? But tons of people do. So it's not like mandatory or anything. And let's see, Floris, he's talking about which kind is best. Oh, Danny, do you know the specific strains that are cross-feeders, starch degraders, and butyrate species so that we could analyze it on a GI map?
There is. You can just Google that though.
Okay.
Yeah, you can Google starch degraders, species, and then you can Google cross feeders and butyrate species, and there's like a infinite list. And then depending on the stool test, you have to check and make sure the stool test measures for each one of those. They don't all measure for each one of those groups.
Martha's saying, could you explain briefly parabiotics? This is a postbiotic. What's a parabiotic?
So paraprobiotics are dead. They're dead probiotics. And probiotics, remember, are bacteria that are good with a health outcome. So paraprobiotics are a specifically killed probiotic because they produce a different health outcome than the live version. And that's really confusing to people, and it's been very confusing for me as well. So I get it. Yeah, basically they're dead cells, and those dead cells provide our immune system with information, and that information changes the amount of T regulatory cells. It increases those. It changes IL-12. It changes excessive IgE formation. You do all kinds of really cool things that live bugs do not do. So they're two different classes of probiotics.
Well, so there's probiotics, parabiotics, postbiotics. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Yep. So where's my slide at here?
And I like the basil salad thing. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good.
So I can't do it when I'm in chat, but I was gonna come in here and edit, but I would add one in here that's like in between these two. It's like basically paraprobiotics, which is dead specific strains, and I messed this up. I should have said live specific strains of good bugs that induce health. Paraprobiotics would be dead specific strains of good bugs that induce health.
Okay, that'll be a good slide. Okay, does the butyrate work in small intestine or large intestine?
Yes.
Okay, would butyrate, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, would butyrate also be good for someone with diverticulitis?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, with all the caveats, it doesn't increase pain, figure out your ideal dose. If you're concerned, work with a practitioner. It's not a specific treatment.
100%. Does it help with too much candida or overgrowth of that in the gut?
Yes. In my opinion, partially what's happening with a candida or a fungal overgrowth is the same thing that's happening in a dysbiotic gut. You have the wrong environment and the wrong food that's driving to a different outcome. And so, obviously a lot of times that gets out of control. You have to go in with a killing protocol, but the generalized environment still needs to be corrected. So candida, as far as I know, does not thrive in a low oxygen environment. So you do want to drive the oxygen down as much as possible, and you want to increase the diversity and the thickness of the good bugs as much as possible, because they're the ones that keep the candida in check. Candida doesn't always go away. It's in almost all of us. It's just in a commensal amount, meaning it's like those birds on those whales that kind of pick off different bugs and things. It's there hanging out, and when we work in harmony together. If we're healthy, it's when we get dysbiotic and our gut gets messed up that candida has a chance to run away and become this systemic issue.
Right. Okay. Does he recommend the soil-based probiotics? So, Karen, are you saying soil-based or are you saying spore-based? So, how about it being for Barrett's esophagus?
Again, it's not a direct treatment for Barrett's esophagus. I don't know that it would harm anything related to Barrett's. I've never seen that. And generally, part of Barrett's issue is low mucosal thickness, and so it does help with that.
Okay, and bacterial pneumonia.
Again, not a treatment,
I know,
but with
I'm not going to answer any more of those, you guys, because
bacterial, like what is true is that the majority of all probiotic studies with antibiotics, like they give probiotics before antibiotic treatment, they give probiotics during antibiotic treatment, and then they try to figure out how fast does the gut repair itself, like how quickly does the gut come back. The majority of those trials have failed, and there's been a lot of them. The majority of all of the Tributyrin trials, there's been 4, I think, 3 or 4, basically show that co-administration of sodium butyrate or tributyrin with antibiotics is the best way to prevent any sort of like more microbiome damage.
okay.
And if you're going to get sodium butyrate, try to get one that's microencapsulated.
Have you ever heard of anyone becoming more hungry after starting it?
I mean, it's totally possible. I mean, if you're restarting your metabolism, if you're resetting leptin, if you're working on some things, there's going to be some changes, some up and down. I would focus on protein. It's the most satiating molecule.
Okay. Okay. So if you have a gut problem for almost 5 months, which is really, really general and vague, I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry you're having a problem. That's petunia. And you can't eat real food. I'm so sorry. Will you still have butyrate in your gut or no? I don't think you can answer that, honestly.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I doubt you lose everything. Like I doubt you lose all of it, but yeah, that's just
Acacia and psyllium prebiotics feed the good bacteria. We're going to wrap up in 5 minutes. Acacia and psyllium prebiotics feed the good bacteria.
I think acacia feeds some good bugs.
Yeah, you guys could and gals could literally Google that.
Yeah, it's just that for acacia, depending on how they process it, it can be hyper fermentable, meaning that if you have SIBO or you have SIFO, it can like cause like immediate bloating.
Floris, which probiotic for mouth? Kind of off topic, but I would definitely try the Revitin toothpaste because that has a probiotic in it and is wonderful. Revitin, I think we have a link on SIBO SOS in the shop. Okay, here's the thing. We are wrapping up. Thank you all so much. Floris, I'm so sorry that you had all that x-rays. I know, I remember you from yesterday. If your microbiome was truly dead, I don't know if you'd be alive. So you got something going on there. Hang in there and maybe get a stool test there. Okay, Judy, last one. Long-term gut issues, just treated IMO with an antibiotic. I take Megaspore every day and must take probiotics in order to go to the bathroom at all due to constipation. Should butyrate not be taken with probiotics?
No, butyrate should definitely be taken with probiotics.
There you go. Okay.
They're like brother and sister.
Oh, I like that.
That like each other.
Oh, that's even more important. Esophageal is lax problem. Is that likely to help if they have esophageal is lax?
Yeah, I can't comment on that.
Yeah, that's a functional. It could be a lot of different things. Here's the bottom line. Try it. You have a discount. You have access to the Facebook group. If you buy in the next 42 minutes, you get a free $59 masterclass on digestive enzymes. And in the US, it's free shipping. And overseas, you do have to pay shipping, but you still get to take advantage of the $15 off your cart. So you are welcome, Karen. You are welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming. I know a lot of you are regulars, and I so appreciate it. I really try to bring you specialized content that you don't hear about in the doctor's office and that you just don't see out there in the world of the internet. And certainly today, Steven delivered as always, but I have been asking him for a PowerPoint presentation for over 2 years, and he did it, and I appreciate it so much. You really outdid yourself today, Steven, as always. So thank you. Try it again. Really seriously, that other masterclass that he did on digestive enzymes is a masterpiece. So check it out. Sunny is saying the link isn't working. Hello. Well, I noticed it was working because we have a lot of people who have been placing an order, and Steven just put into the chat the support. And yes, we're getting a shout out for Petunia, who's the best kitty in the whole world. That's right. I can't get through to either SIBO SOS or Healthy Gut. It freezes each time. Did we break the internet?
Maybe we broke it. We have many health coaches who are on the phones right now. Please call the 188. It's a free number. Call the 188 or just email. I can't do tech support and present at the same time, so I'm sorry you're having troubles.
And then also switch browsers. Yeah, switch browsers. So tonight we will be sending out that replay, and this isn't just the $15 off is for the cart. So if you wanted to throw in your digestive enzymes, if you wanted to check into the HCl guard, the other thing is on Steven's website, which is it just healthygut.com? Steven?
Yes. Yeah.
His website's really excellent and full of information, like science. It's got studies on it and stuff. So like I go there all the time to be like, now wait a minute, what was this? And it's a whole beautiful resource. So are you going there right now, Steven? That'd be great. Okay, awesome sauce. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's down. So
oh, all right. Yeah, due to high volume. Hey, Heather. Well, it happens every now and then during these webinars. We almost broke Christine Schaffner's the other day. So I will extend it to 6 p.m. Eastern. How's that? What do you think? What if it's not fixed by then? I don't know. Write me an email and tell me what happened. And then
yeah, sorry everybody. I wish I could.
And we'll support you. I know you won't take advantage, and please do it ASAP. Like if you write me in a week and you say, or 3 days, and you say like, hey, I tried to order and I know that the internet is fixed again, that's not going to work. But be respectful, and I respect you and appreciate you. And that's gonna wrap. 60-day money back guarantee. I don't see that all the time, even with all of my speakers who I love. A lot of times it's just not what they're doing for a variety of reasons. I'm not saying it's bad. What I am saying is that it's really good that Steven does that. And it's nice that it's not 30 days, because this really gives you a chance to try it. Last thing, when you get it at home, whatever the supplements are that you're getting, I'm begging you to open the bottle that day and start. It is so easy to talk yourself out of, depending on your hypervigilance level, of like, I'm going to wait. I want you to get it so you can start getting the benefits, so you can start getting that data we've been talking about, so you can make a decision for yourself. But if you don't try, you won't know. There you go. Thanks again.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, loaded. Okay, so try the website again.
Maybe it's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, Steven. It's like so stressful. It's like saying that you drove off and you left your front door and back door open and the water running and the ironing board on. So believe me, I get it. So just be patient. I did switch it to 6 p.m. Eastern because I did say it, and maybe you guys are going to have continued problems. So 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for being here. I know you aren't getting access to this extra free goodie, but hopefully you've really received a lot of value from the class, and I appreciate you. I'm going to wrap. 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. Thanks. Talk to you next time.